Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. And Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Mr. Pad Paramahansa. Madhvacharya Ashtotar the Sri Srimad Divine Grace. Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jai. ISKCON BBT founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Madhvacharya Ashtotar the Sri Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki Jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnavinda ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Jai. Grantharaj srimadbhagavatam ki Jai. Samveda Bhaktivinoda ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. So, Balaram went somewhere. Do you know how to turn up the volume a little bit? No. And you don't know. Balaram's here. Balaram, you know how to do it? You don't know either?
No,
okay.
I could.
No, let's do it together. Next time you'll know. Conference. Today. It's too bad. But we're going to read first about Sri Madhvacharya, whose disappearance day it is today. Okay. On this second day of February. Second day of February. Yes. 2020 in SanDiego. We're reading first about Sri Madhvacharya, whose disappearance day it is today. This is from the Samadhi's book. And just give me a second here. Okay. Sri Madhvacharya appeared in 1238 AD near Udupi, Karnataka in South India. He was considered an incarnation of Vayu, the wind god. He had an unusually strong physique and extraordinary intellectual power. Once a fierce Bengali tiger attacked Madhvacharya's sannyas disciple Satyatirtha. Madhvacharya wrestled the tiger and sent him away with his tail between his legs. Madhvacharya took Diksha at age 5, sannyas at 12, and left home. He appeared with a mission to fight and defeat Shankara's Mayavad, or impersonal philosophy. By giving a pure interpretation of Vedanta Sutra, he promoted pure theism. He named his innovative Shastric explanation Dvaita Dvaitavad, pure dualism. After Shankaracharya, who had previously toured India spreading impersonalism, Madhvacharya also traveled the length and breadth of India, preaching personal theism and devotion to Lord Vishnu. He defeated innumerable Jains, Buddhists, Mayavadis, atheists, logicians, and agnostics. With the hope of meeting Srila Vyasadeva himself, Madhvacharya walked up into the Himalayas. Vyasadeva gave him, he did meet Vyasadeva. Oh, no back, you can't lean against the back. Just get one of these pillows. Or get this pillow here, right here, this cushion right here, put it in the back. Yeah. Because it's a manifestation of Balaram, everything here. Okay. He walked to the Himalayas and he got the darshan of Vyasadeva, who gave him a shalagram shila called Ashtamurti, approved his Bhagavad Gita commentary, and blessed Sri Madhvacharya with deeper realizations of the Shastras. In Udupi, Madhvacharya installed a beautiful deity of Gopal standing alone, holding a cow-herding stick. This deity manifested from within a chunk of Gopi Chandan, sacred clay. Madhvacharya established 8 mats, temples with attached ashrams, to lovingly serve Udupi Krishna. The sannyasi leaders of each mat worshipped the Krishna deity with a rigorous regimen of ceremonial ritual, punctuality, and impeccable personal conduct. Impeccable personal conduct. Every Ekadashi they observe nirjal, total fast from all food and water. The Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya originates with the Madhvas. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his followers thoroughly studied Madhva's works before compiling their philosophy. For the Shatsandarbhas, Sri Jiva Goswami drew heavily from Madhva's writings. Time out. Can you ask him to go and speak a little softer? They don't understand. It's carrying through. Okay. Yeah, it's kind of. Hare Krishna. For the Shatsandarbhas, Sri Jiva Goswami drew heavily from Madhva's writings. Jiva Goswami found the Gaudiya philosophy of Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva in Madhva's Bhagavatparya. Sri Chaitanya himself visited Udupi, the seat of Madhva's sect. The Lord introduced Harinam Sankirtan into their sect. The Madhvas and the Gaudiyas share many of the same philosophical points. Both consider it necessary to surrender to the lotus feet of the Guru Padashraya. In Sutra Bhashya, Madhvacharya cites, that sounds like the commentary on the Vedanta Sutra, or something like it. Madhvacharya cites the Brihad Tantra and the Mahasamhita to show that a disciple may reject a bogus guru who proves to be useless. He may then accept another qualified, self-realized person as his guru. In Prameya Ratnavali, Sri Baladev Vidyabhushan summarized the 9 principles common to both Sri Chaitanya's and Madhva's teachings. In Vaishnava Siddhantamala, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ordered all Gaudiya Vaishnavas to carefully observe the 9 instructions of truth given by Sri Madhvacharya through our Guru Parampara. Sri Madhvacharya's 9 teachings are as follows. 1. Bhagavan Sri Krishna alone is the supreme absolute truth, one without a second. 2. He is the object of knowledge in all the Vedas. 3. The universe is real, Satyam. 4. The differences between Ishvara, God, Jiva, soul, and matter are real. 5. Jiva souls are by nature the servants of the Supreme Lord, Hari. 6. There are 2 categories of jivas, the liberated and the illusioned. 7. Liberation or moksha means attaining the lotus feet of Bhagavan Krishna. In other words, entering an eternal relationship of service to the Supreme Lord. 8. Pure devotional service to Krishna is the only way to attain this liberation. 9. The truth may be known by pratyaksha, direct perception, anuman, inference or logic, and shabda, or spiritual sound or Vedic authority. And what he doesn't mention here is that Madhvacharya's line comes down and comes through Madhavendra Puri, whose disciple is Ishvara Puri, who took the role of Lord Chaitanya's guru. And therefore we're known as the Brahma, Madhva, Gaudiya Sampradaya. Right? Madhva came in the line of the Brahma Sampradaya. Shri Madhvacharya Ki Jai. Okay. And now we will read Srimad Bhagavatam. Some of you may have. You don't need to bring your iPad. Okay. Does anyone have a phone? You don't have a phone. We'll do it word by word, like a Pushpanjali, so you'll get the chant at least once. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. Narayana Namaskritya Narang Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiriyet. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we should offer our respectful obeisances unto Lord Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremest human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, the translative commentator and our spiritual master. Excuse me. Nashtaprayasha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering devotional service to the pure devotee, all that is inauspicious within the heart is destroyed almost to nil, and loving devotion to the Supreme Lord is glorified, who is glorified in the best of songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Okay, so we're reading from Canto 4, The Creation of the Fourth Order. Text, chapter 22, Prithu Maharaj's meeting with the four Kumaras, text number 21. And we don't have a verse. And only, well now, so several have it. All right, so we'll do it at least once, word by word, so you can all chant. Shastreshu, Iyan, Eva, Sunishtito, Ninam, Chemasya, Sadryag, Vimisheshu, Hetuhu, Asanga, Atma, Vyatirikta, Atmani, Dridha, Ratir, Brahmani, Nirgune, Chaya. Verse 4, 22, 21. Do you have it? 4, 22, 21. Okay. Shastre Shriyane Vasunishtito Ninam Chemasya Sadhyag Vimasheshu Hetuhu Asanga Atma Vatirikta Atmani Dvidharati Brahmani Nirgune Chaya. Shastre Shriyane Visunishtito Ninam Chemasya Sadhyag Vimasheshu Hetuhu Asanga Atma Vyatirikta Atmani Dvidharati Brahmani Nirgune Chaya. Chant. You got it? 4:22:21. Shastre Shriyane Visunishtito Nanam Chemasya Sadhyag Vimasheshu Hetuhu Asanga Atma Vyatirikta Atmani Dvidharati Brahmani Nirgunechaya. Shastre Shriyane Visunishtito Nanam Chemasya Sadhyag Vimasheshu Hetuhu Asanga Atma Vyatirikta Atmani Dvidharati Brahmani Nirgunechaya. Anyone over there with a device want to chant? Go ahead, Sheddosh. Shastre Shriyan Evisunistito Nunam Chemasya Sadhyag Vimasheshu Hetuhu Asanga Atma Vyatirikta Atmani Dvidharati Brahmani Nirgunechaya. Damodar. Shastre Shriyane Visunishtito Nanam Chemasya Sadhyag Vimasheshu Hetuhu Asanga Atma Vyatirikta Atmani Dvidharati Brahmani Nirgunechaya. Bhakti Ace. Shastre Shriyane Visunishtito Nunam Chemasya Sadhyag Vimasheshu Hetuhu Asanga Atma Vyatirikta Atmani Dvidharati Brahmani Nirgunechaya. Shastreshu, in the scriptures, Iyan Eva, this is only, Sunishtitaha, positively concluded, Nirnam, of human society, Chemasya, of the ultimate welfare, Sadhyak, perfectly, Vimasheshu, by full consideration, Hetuhu, cause, Asangaha, detachment, Atma Vyatirikte, the bodily concept of life, Atmani, unto the Supreme Soul, Dvidha, strong, Ratihi, attachment, Brahmani, transcendence, Nirgune, in the Supreme, who is beyond the material modes, Cha, and, Ya, which. Translation, Sanat Kumara speaks to Maharaj Prithu. It has been conclusively decided in the scriptures, after due consideration, that the ultimate goal for the welfare of human society is detachment from the bodily concept of life and increased and steadfast attachment for the Supreme Lord, who is transcendental beyond the modes of material nature. Purport. Everyone in human society is engaged for the ultimate benefit of life, but persons who are in the bodily conception cannot achieve the ultimate goal, nor can they understand what it is. The ultimate goal of life is described in the Bhagavad Gita 2:59. Padam drishtva nivartate. When one finds out the supreme goal of life, he naturally becomes detached from the bodily concept. Here in this verse, the indication is that one has to steadfastly increase attachment for the transcendence, Brahmani. As confirmed in the Vedanta Sutra 111, Atato Brahma Jigyasa, Without inquiry about the supreme or the transcendence, one cannot give up attachment for this material world. By the evolutionary process in 8,400,000 species of life, one cannot understand the ultimate goal of life because in all those species of life, the bodily conception is very prominent. Atato Brahma Jigyasa means that in order to get out of the bodily conception, one has to increase attachment to or inquiry about Brahman. Then he can be situated in the transcendental devotional service, Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu. That means hearing and chanting about Vishnu. To increase attachment for Brahman means to engage in devotional service. Those who are attached to the impersonal form of Brahman cannot remain attached for very long. Impersonalists, after rejecting the world as mithya, or false, Jagan Mithya, come down again to this Jagan Mithya, although they take sannyas to increase their attachment for Brahman. Similarly, many yogis who are attached to the localized aspect of Brahman as Paramatma, great sages like Vishvamitra, also fall down as victims of women. Therefore, increased attachment for the Supreme Personality of Godhead is advised in all Shastras. That is the only way of detachment from material existence, and is explained in the Bhagavad Gita 259s, Padam Drishtva Nivartate. One can cease material activities when he actually has the taste for devotional service. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also recommended love of Godhead as the ultimate goal of life, prema pumarto mahan. Without increasing love of Godhead, one cannot achieve the perfectional stage of the transcendental position. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmadatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So this begins these wonderful teachings of Sanat Kumara to Maharaj Prithu. And as I like to point out, but hopefully I won't point it out anymore, when I started working on the BBT books back in 1973, the first thing I read, and I'll never forget it, was the battle between Lord Bohr and Hiranyaksha. That was a revelation to me. But then gradually, as I finished the third canto, and then the fourth canto, and then we came to this very much sticks up in my mind. Reading these instructions of Sanat Kumara were just like, and this was before the book was published, so I was the first one to read it in ISKCON, except Prabhupada and the editor. They just stuck with me so much. I think the next one is this very memorable instruction where he says, one should mold one's life in such a way that he cannot live in peace without drinking the nectar of the glorification of Lord Krishna. And then at the end, almost at the conclusion, he gives an instruction. Prabhupada would often quote the Sanskrit to this one. Yat pada pankaja palasa valasa bhaktya karmashayam kujitam utkudayanti santa tadvanna rikta matayo yatayopi ruddha sroto ganastamadanam bhaja vasudevam. You understand what the last word means? It simply means worship Vasudeva, therefore. So that's very pertinent actually to this instruction too, because he's talking about, and the whole purport is about getting free of the bodily concept of life, which means attachment to all these objects of the senses, and becoming more and more attached to Brahman. Now what is that Brahman? Of course, Prabhupada gives the classic definition here in the purport. There's three manifestations. There's the Brahman effulgence, Brahman Jyoti. There is a Paramatma, which is a plenary expansion of Krishna in the heart, in everyone's heart and in every atom. And then there's Bhagavan himself, the full manifestation of the personality of Godhead, full with name, form, qualities, pastimes, and everything you know about Krishna. So the fact is that it's very difficult to become attached to the first two methods, the first two manifestations of Brahman. The Mayavadis or impersonalists try that. Prabhupada explains a very important purport, 4th chapter, 10th verse of the Bhagavad Gita. Vita raga bhaya krodha manmaya mamapashata. Krishna is saying that after he explains why he appears and what he does when he appears, and the previous verse is maybe practically the most often quoted verse that Prabhupada would quote, except for Sarva Dharma Parityajya. And that is Janma Karma Tame Divyam Evam Yoveti Tattvata. One who understands in truth, tattvataha, the transcendental nature of my birth and activities or lila, will attain liberation, will not come back again, will come to me. Yeah. And the very next verse is this one, vitaraga bhayakrodha. So he says, many devotees in the past, by giving up attachment, fear, and anger, raga, bhaya, and krodha. This phrase appears at least twice in the Bhagavad Gita. Vita, raga, bhaya, krodha. Become purified by meditating upon me and come back and attain transcendental love for me. You see? So in that purport, Srila Prabhupada, undoubtedly following the Acharyas, probably Baladev, he's describing how each one of those, raga, bhaya, and krodha, are a blockage for different kinds of people who want to advance in transcendental life, in yoga. So, or even materialists, raga here means just material attachment. So for most people, in this age especially, the idea of transmigration of the soul, of a place beyond birth and death, doesn't even come up. It's just not. This is what back in the 60s there was this idea that God is dead. Now, what that means, Prabhupada would quote this a lot as critical of the Western, world, which is in such darkness, that they actually entertain those kind of thoughts and those kind of slogans. So, what that meant from those who were saying it was that God was an imagination to begin with, which so many people accepted because they needed some way to explain natural, phenomena or something like that. But now that we're so modern and we have all this technology and everything, we don't need that. And so that conception is dead when people don't need God anymore. In other words, they never believed in God to begin with. So for many people, this raga, this material attachment, is so strong that they're so much in the mode of passion and ignorance to even accept the first sutra of the Vedanta Sutra. Now you're a human being, you should inquire into the absolute truth, these ultimate questions. Why am I here? Why am I suffering? Who am I? How did anything come about? I mean, when I was a kid and growing up, everybody at least went through a phase of asking these philosophical questions. Now, as life went on and you had to figure out, what am I going to do when I get out of college? I can't just study, philosophy all the time. Then often you lost that. But at least it crossed the mind of a lot of young people. And that's why Prabhupada focused on trying to impress young people who hadn't yet committed and become completely in the rat race, So, but most people are too much raga. Then there's this idea of bhaya. Now, bhaya is fear, right? So that Srila Prabhupada identifies here as the problem or the central mood of the impersonalists. They're afraid of being persons again, because what we know of personhood is this body, right? And so that means birth and death, that means suffering. So if all this suffering comes from having a body with senses and activities and relationships, then the absolute position must be without a body, without a form, without personality. That's called mayavad. That's called the ultimate. Yeah, the ultimate reality is no varieties. Nirvishesha shunyavadi. The nirvishesha, we'll have questions later. Nirvishesha means no variety, no eyes, no senses, no nothing. Just pure consciousness. It's like I compare it to these, they have these sensory deprivation chambers where you can get in there and they have some, so you almost feel light, weightless. And salt water, right? And perfect temperature. So everything is it's just a release of all of the input and everything, and you can just relax and kind of merge. So it's like that, sensory deprivation. But at least we're not taking birth again. We're free of birth and death. So the whole idea is fear. Fear of birth, death, old age, and disease. Fear of having a form again. But it's unnatural, you see. It's not really what we are. And so they come down again. Prabhupada would always quote this verse from the prayers of the demigods for Krishna in the womb in chapter 2 of the 10th canto. Ye and ye adabindaksha vimuktamaninas tvayashtabhavat avishuddha buddhaya adu kuchena param padam tata patam chadho anadvacha yushmarangriya. They're praising Krishna in the womb. He's in the womb of David. He's going to take birth. Janmashtami is coming. And they say, Besides the devotees, they're also talking about the glories of the devotees. Besides the devotees, Anye means others. O lotus-eyed Lord, there are those who are vimukta maninas. They've convinced themselves that they're liberated. You see, their liberation is only in their mind. They feel, oh, now I'm detached. Now I'm merged. You see, but it's a false. They're not really liberated. Ashtabhavad avishuddha buddhiya. They're averse to serving you because their intelligence is not pure. Avishuddha buddha, not shuddha buddha, but avishuddha means contaminated kind. And even though a few of them, and it's hard, can you imagine what it's like? The basic principle of transcendence, of real yoga, is becoming detached from all of our cultivated attachments in this world that you're born, I mean, in other words, it's built in. It's not easy to get over those. But you have to draw those away and place it in transcendence so that you won't come back again, because those unfulfilled attachments is what keeps you coming back. So now, imagine trying to be detached from all the things that we are attached to and are trying to attract us. And you have no holy name, no form of the Lord, no prasadam, pastimes, that's just imagination. All you have is your willpower, and your and the Vedanta Sutra, and your intelligence to try to keep you detached. Who's going to be able to do that? Yeah, even with all of the facilities we have, which is bhakti, all of the details of the everything that is, still we have a hard time. So even though a few of them, by strength of will, that's why this word kritrena is there. Kritrena, you can hear the sound. It means difficult austerities, suppressing all the senses and the mind and the imagination, just holding on, and try to merge into Brahman. Kritrena parampadam. A few go to the parampadam, means the Brahmabhuta platform. Okay. But then patantyado, they fall down. Patantyado anadvicha yushmadangriya, because they're averse to serving your lotus feet. So that's bhaya. Then you have krodha. Right? There's three. Vita, raga, bhaya. Most raga people aren't even interested. And then the impersonalists are afraid of getting a body again. And then you have the voidus. You have those who have been cheated by one philosophy after another. And their frustration, they become angry. And so they throw up their hands and say, everything is void. My only hope is to become nothing. And that's like the Buddhists believe in that, and some others, It's a nihilistic thing. And so none of those really can produce that detachment. Now Prabhupada quotes 259 here. And Bhagavad Gita 259, which for me anyway, when I first read that, I said, yeah, this is exactly what we're experiencing now, chanting Hare Krishna and trying to give up sense gratification. Vishayava nivartante nidahārasya dehinak rasavājam rasopyasya padam dristvana vartate. This is such a significant verse for us, for everyone. So vishayava nivartante, if you give up the sense objects, by fasting, by detachment, going to the Himalayas, whatever, then you won't be consuming them. Nidahārasya dehinak, for an embodied soul. And for a time you can remain detached. But the desire is still there. That doesn't get rid of the desire. Rasavājam rasopyasya. But even the desire and the attachment is conquered. Padam drishtva nivartad. Padam drishtva, and then nivartad, that you don't return. Now padam drishtva means seeing the Supreme. It's shorthand for meaning directly experiencing Krishna in all its varieties, including the devotees, the holy name, the prasadam, everything that we know that attracts us. That if you are able to in other words, drink it as much as possible, the very taste will go, and then there'll be no reason to go back. You'll actually lose the desire. And there's this famous verse, Prabhupada made it famous, two purports. I think he quotes this verse from Yamunacharya, who was also, no, it wasn't in the line of Madhva. He was the spiritual master of Ramanujacharya. He was a king. He was a great king, and he became a great devotee. He wrote his Stotra Ratna. Stotra Ratna. There's a beautiful prayer Prabhupada would always quote from Stotra Ratna. It's a prayer to become a servant of the Lord. We can all learn this prayer. It's quoted in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Bhavantamevanuchadandarantarak prashanta nikshe samanodatantarak kadahamai kantika nitya kinkara paharshi yasyami sanata jivitam. So, when bhavantam, when will I become your undeviated servant? Evanuchadan nirantarak, without a break, without deviation. And by doing that, it's directly related to this verse and to this 259. Prashanta nikshesa manodatantarak. It's all in the mind, you know. Manorata. You know what the manorata is? Balaram, you know that. Yeah, the chariot of the mind. This is the problem, is that we get on that chariot of the mind, and the mind goes, it's taking us away from Krishna, right? We have this phrase in English, the train of thought. The train of thought. You get on that train of thought, you can go a million miles away. So that's what's, you know, breaking our concentration on Krishna, is the manorata. So here he says, when I am your unalloyed servant, and there's no breaks, no gaps. We used to have signs on the wall in the old Brooklyn Temple. No gaps. No gaps. Obviously what that means. So, prashanta, it will become pacified. All of these distracting thoughts and all of this stuff, you know, if I'm really established as your sincere servant, you know, if you accept me. Prashanta nikshesa manodatan kadaham, when will I become that? Kadaham aikantika nitya kinkara. You're an undeviating servant. Kinkara means not just servant, but a very menial servant. And I'll be so happy. Paharshi yasyami. Harsha means joy. Paharsha means jubilation. Paharshi yasyami sanata jivitam. I will be so happy to be living with such a qualified master. You know, this is the dasya ras. It's a great prayer. So, what is the result of that is, if we actually get established and steady in devotional service, those other desires will fall away. The mind won't even be disturbed. And when, this verse by Madhvacharya, he shows his detachment. You know, it's a far out verse. Yadabadi mamacheta Krishna padadabinde. Navanamana sadhaman yudyatam rantam asi. Tadabadi batanadi sangame smaryamane bhavati mukhavikaru. So he's a king. Kings have all facility for sense gratification, right? They have a harem of so many wives, whatever. So he's saying, ever since I've been enjoying steady, moment to moment, ever new, transcendental pleasures, serving the lotus feet of Krishna, then since that time, and whenever because the mind does what it wants to do. Sometimes memories pop up, and where did that come from? Because ever since, I remember any of my experiences, with illicit sex, he says, his mouth curls in distaste and he spits at the thought. In other words, he's become completely detached. He's experiencing the transcendental rasa of devotional service. So that's what this is all about. That the ultimate goal of welfare of all human society is detachment from the bodily concept of life, and that means less and less involvement in sense gratification, and increased and steadfast attachment for the Supreme Lord, and that he mentions, of course, that's Krishna, who is transcendental beyond the modes of material nature. So, there's one more verse I'd like to share with you. This is in the 11th canto, the 9 Yogendras. The very first lesson. There's 9 Yogendras, and each of them come on. They're requested by King Nimi, and they give a little lesson in bhakti. It's really nice and very important. So this is the first one. And he describes near the end of this, I won't go through the whole thing, but it's wonderful. This verse, which Prabhupada would always quote, he would quote the first line in one word. Bhakti padeshanubhava rakti anyatra cha. Which means, the whole verse means, for those who Prabhudyamanas, who are surrendered unto you, seriously, they experience 3 things simultaneously. Bhakti, para isha anubhava, and viraktir anyatra cha, which is very interesting. So the bhakti there means the actual pleasure of bhakti ras, the transcendental pleasure of bhakti ras. And para isha anubhava means your presence. They experience the presence of Isha, the Lord, internally, externally, at every moment, in everything. In other words, even in the CC, it says they don't, the pure devotees, they don't actually see a tree. They see Krishna there, because it's his energy and everything. Everywhere they look, they see Krishna, and within it also. So that's Pada isha anubhava. And virakta anyatra means detachment from everything else. So this is the threefold. And you know what he compares it to? Taking a wonderful prasadam feast. Tushti, pushti, chodapayo. So I always give the example of I don't know why I focus on this one, Nrsimhadev feast. Because he appears in twilight, right? And so it's usually a late feast. Sometimes it's like 8 o'clock or something, because it's middle of summer, or it's May, I think. Anyway, we got the daylight saving time and all that. So it's fasting all day, it's a day, and everyone is ready for some prasadam at that point. So you're sitting down, and they serve jal, and so you start honoring, and it's nicely prepared, with love and devotion. And so what are you experiencing? Tushti, the pleasure of the prasadam, of tasting all this wonderfully prepared prasadam. And pushti, nourishing the body. Pushti is nourishment. So the tushti is compared to the bhakti, the actual pleasure of bhakti ras. The pushti is nourishment for the body. Nourishment for the soul is experiencing Krishna's presence everywhere. We may not realize it, but when you walk in this door and you see Krishna's form and you appreciate that, and you have, that's nourishing your soul. that's essential, And chodapayo means with every bite, you're becoming detached. You're becoming free of hunger. So you're losing taste for everything else. You see what I'm saying? That's detachment. So those are when we can experience that regularly, and then eventually at every moment, and we're already liberated. You don't care about liberation. That's just, that's not your goal. Lord Chaitanya says, birth after birth, as long as I have unalloyed devotion to you, I don't care. Wealth, anything else, nice spouse, whatever. That's not it. He doesn't care if he takes birth again. Bhaktivinoda had that sentiment. As long as I could be in the house of a devotee, as long as I can have bhakti. So, as Prabhupada says, it's to increase the attachment for Brahman. So we have to increase our attachment to Krishna. It's this word sublimation, which I may be kind of stretching the regular meaning, but I think we're allowed to do that, is to take our mundane attachments, which we experience through our senses, through our mind, through our intelligence, right? Krishna says at the end of the 3rd chapter that this material desire, kama, takes over the body, the mind, and the senses, right? The senses, the mind, and the intelligence. And it kind of affects them. And so the senses, it's a perfect example of someone who's addicted to cigarettes or, alcohol or something. You know it's not good for you. The mind knows that, the intelligence. But the senses are too strong, and it overwhelms the mind and intelligence. So, and the mind itself can be addicted to things, and just a way of thinking, or some subtle impression, or just a memory, and going back to something that you wish you could experience again. And the intelligence as well, can be saturated with it. So when all of those elements, senses, mind, intelligence, are engaged in Krishna, and you think about it, like the classes, the books, the verses, you're engaging your intelligence. Very important. Because ultimately, if intelligence is strong, then that can control the mind and the senses. This is the whole idea. Why chanting is the essence, but we need the philosophy as well. Otherwise, it's possible to get off into sahajiya and sentimentality. There has to be that understanding. Yes, now I understand why the 4 regular principles are so important. Otherwise, if you don't understand that, you're not going to follow them. I can have everything. I can have the nectar of chanting the holy name, and we can have all this sex and like that. It doesn't work that way. So the intelligence gets purified and strengthened by hearing from the right source, right, with the right mentality. That's another thing. The receptivity of the hearer is all important. So, and then when intelligence is strong, as Madhavendra Puri says in this wonderful verse, Lord Chaitanya quotes in his instructions to Sanatana Goswami. This idea of sambandha abhideya priyojana, I don't know if you're familiar, all of you are familiar with that. I think most have heard it. This comes out of the teachings of Lord Chaitanya to Sanatana in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And it formed the basis of the Jaiva Dharma, of Bhaktivinoda Thakur's opus on the very detailed on all of this. So we should understand how this works, because it's where we live. It's in our wheelhouse if we're trying to be serious in bhakti, And that is that Sambandha means, first of all, understanding the relationship. That's where, who am I, not translating the bodily concept of life. It comes in Sambandha. I'm actually a spirit soul. And where does everything come from? God. And how does the world work? This material world. So the idea of Krishna as the creator, controller, owner of everything. We are his parts and parcels. We're also pure consciousness. We're now covered by a body. And this material world is nothing but made up of his energies. You learn that in the 7th chapter. So Lord Chaitanya, that's the Sambandha part. Then if you understand on the basis of that I'm an eternal servant of Krishna, that's Lord Chaitanya's first instruction to Sanatan. Jivera Swarup. What is the Swarup of the Jiva? Not just the external covering, which is like this coat, but what is our actual nature? Jivera Swarupa, Krishnera Nityadas. Every Jiva, the little ants and the birds and everything, what to speak of human beings, every Jiva is the eternal servant of Krishna. We don't know that, so we have to relearn it. So, in the Abhideya portion, when he's practice, if you understand the theory, then you have to have the practice to get to the goal. That's priyojana. That's pure love for Krishna going back to Godhead. So, in his teachings, at the beginning of this Abhideya portion, which I can give you it's probably chapter 21, I think, or 20 or 21, in the Madhya Lila, he has this beautiful verse from Madhavendra Puri, which he's talking about strengthening the intelligence and how that's the key. Kama dinam, katina katita padita durni deshas, tesham jata mayana karuna natrapano prashanti, utsrid jaitan hadiyotapate sambatam labdha buddhis, tvamayatak shadanam abhayam tvamam niyung svatmadasi. So I put it in a little poem. And how many ways have I sought to obey? And how many ways have I sought to obey the seductive demands of my wicked desires? And how many ways have I sought to obey the seductive demands of my wicked desires? They've shown me no mercy. Yet on I've gone shamelessly trying to quench lust's unquenchable fires. But now I'm rejecting these hellish desires, for my higher intelligence now has awoken. O Krishna, O shelter of fearlessness, please let me serve you with faith that will never be broken. Now, it's not attributed to Madhavendra Puri in the CC, but I learned that from reading one of these compilations of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's lectures, which can be very illuminating. And he tells us that this is written by Madhavendra. So, it's such an instructive verse. He describes it exactly like it is. Birth after birth, we're bound up by these material desires. Now, in the lower species, we can't do anything about it. We don't have the intelligence to really do anything. We're just running by instinct and dying and going on. Eventually coming up to the human form of life. So, also, we've got all this background, so there's these latent desires, the body's built in at a certain point, so many desires come up. So he's saying, kama adinam, kama, etc. What is the etc.? Lust, anger, greed, illusion, envy. All of these are my masters. I've been following their orders. They've been, cruel masters. They're never satisfied. They don't show me any mercy. So, but now, because I've strengthened my intelligence by association with devotees, by hearing, by reading, studying, I'm rejecting those hellish desires. I'm throwing them far away. But that's not good enough. Because if you don't substitute them with service to Krishna, they come right back. They're still there in their latent form. That's Vishayava Nivartante. So he says, but now I'm rejecting those hellish, my higher intelligence, but now, of Krishna, O shelter of fearlessness, please let me serve you with faith that will never be broken. Now what is the fear? We're going to try to overcome fear. The basic fear of devotees is that we're going to deviate from devotion, and we're going to be drawn back into the maelstrom of birth and death and illusion. So, but Krishna's lotus feet are the place of fearlessness. Bhajahore manashi nandanandana habaya charanara vindure. There's a whole song Prabhupada would love to quote. He'd sing that song. What is that? Abhaya Charana, his very name. He was named Abhay Charana, that was his original name. Abhay De. So when he got initiated, it was Abhay Charanadavinda. He's got Abhay Charanadavinda Das. In other words, he who is fearless at the lotus feet of Krishna, the place of real fearlessness. And why is that fearlessness? Because if we stick to Krishna's lotus feet and service to Krishna's feet, those material desires can never come back in our heart. You know, they just dry up. They become sublimated. You know, you see what I'm saying? So that's really the only shelter of fearlessness, is to pray. You know, as what is Lord Chaitanya? He's teaching us how to pray in the Shikshastika. Ainannatanuja kinkaram patitam mam vishame bhavam bodho kripayata papada pankajastita dhuli sadrisham vachintaya. Your servant for eternity, I lost my true identity and fell into this horrid sea of birth and death, O Lord. Ananda's son, please hear my plea. By your sweet grace, consider me a speck of dust upon your lotus feet forevermore. You see? Stick to those lotus feet, which means service, which means serving the devotees and serving the spiritual master. And, you know, breaking down that big false ego we've been building for millions of births, and recognizing our true nature, eternal servant of Krishna, you know. And it's such a, as Prabhupada said, it's the most, the most congenial form of intimacy, is service, you know, to the Lord. And that's our position, and there's so much pleasure there. We're reading, Advaita's appearance came a few days ago. And I read this, did you hear that? I don't know if you heard that. Yeah. And we're reading, I hadn't read it before, I don't even remember reading this before. His first meeting with Lord Chaitanya. And just like, you know, the Chaitanya Bhagavatam is full of passages like this, the CC also, but the Chaitanya Bhagavatam even more. And it's that, you know, having heard that Lord Chaitanya appeared, Advaita just became ecstatic, you know, and he started shouting those huge shouts that he's known for, Hankar, you know. And he went to see Lord Chaitanya and big kirtan, and you know, the descriptions of the emotions they're feeling. When he was invited, he fell down in ecstasy. His whole family, they're on the floor, you know, crying and like that. I mean, what does that mean? It means that that's also available. In other words, it's there in every soul. Every soul has that capacity for this extreme joy in contact with Krishna. And it comes, you know, Advaita insisted on it. He's a servant, even though he was on a higher social position. He was a disciple of Madhavendra Puri. And so was Lord Chaitanya's guru, Ishvara Puri. So Lord Chaitanya would give him high respect, Madhvacharya. He didn't like that. So, you know, he had a strategy that he would get Lord Chaitanya to chastise him. He started preaching Mayavad philosophy. So Lord Chaitanya was in on it. He came over and actually he started beating him, I think. And as soon as he beat him, then Advaita was in ecstasy. He says, now finally they're in the right relationship. Yeah, the Mayavadi, it's kind of complicated, but the basic idea of Mayavad means they say everything is Maya. You know? Every detail. The form of the Lord, it's down. It's Maya, you know. You're singing the name, that's Maya, you know. That's why when Lord Chaitanya went to Benares, after visiting Vrindavan, he came down to Benares, waited for Sanatan, and Sanatan escaped from jail and came and met up him there, and then for 2 months he got instructed by Lord Chaitanya. So while that's going on, the Mayavadis are criticizing. Prakashananda had thousands of disciples. Benares is the place of the Mayavadis, you know. To this day, I think there's a lot of them there. But they were saying, look, Lord Chaitanya was given sannyas by a Mayavadi sannyasi, because the devotees, when they would renounce the world, they would take Babaji, you know. They would put on the white cloth and they would do bhajan all day, you know. But sannyas is supposed to be for preaching, you know, for traveling all over the country and preaching, you know. So he took Keshava Bharati. He was part of the Mayavad Sampradaya. So externally, Lord Chaitanya looked just like them, you know, although he had a tridandi instead of a ekadandi, but they didn't worry about that. So there he is in Benares, dancing and chanting with all of his devotees and thousands of people, you know. And they accused him of being a sentimentalist. Why aren't you sitting with us and studying Vedanta Sutra all day, every day? You know, that's their discipline. You know, they dismissed him. So this blasphemy was hurting the ears of his devotees, Chandrasekhar and Tapan Mishra there. And so they complained to Lord, we're going to commit suicide. You know, we can't stand this blasphemy anymore, because the Mayavadis were everywhere, you know. So Lord Chaitanya was carefully avoiding them. He wouldn't take lunch with them, he wouldn't meet with them, you know, or anything. So but now he accepted an invitation to go and meet with them. Anyway, it's a whole story. I don't have time to go through it. But the upshot was he converted them. He explained Vedanta Sutra according to Bhagavatam. And all those thousands of Mayavadis are suddenly dancing and chanting. It was huge, you know, in Benares. Lord Chaitanya became so famous, wherever he would go, hundreds of thousands of people would gather. He had to leave. After that, he left and he went to Jagannath Puri. It was too much. So, but it's a very important chapter. The history of the publication of the CC is itself a whole pastime of Prabhupada's publication of the English CC. The first book that came out of the CC was one chapter, chapter 7 of the Adi Leela, Lord Chaitanya in 5 features. It's about the Panchatattva. That's the first part of it. Then it goes into this whole meeting of Lord Chaitanya and the Mayavadis. And long purports, and quoted from Bhaktisiddhanta, you know, to defeat Mayavad. But that Prabhupada wanted that chapter to come out because it's so important for the Sankirtan movement. The first part of it, about, you know, the Panchatattva, they broke open the storehouse of love of God and they gave it to everybody, man, women, children, doesn't matter, you know. It's exactly the mood of Hare Krishna movement. That's what's being you know, this is where all of this comes from, you know, Lord Chaitanya. So anyway, oh my God, I'm way over time, I'm sorry. So, just one second. So, Param Drishtra Navartate, when we experience Krishna directly, then we can actually give up all these lower desires. And Prabhupada and Mahaprabhu, he gave the final goal. What is the prayojan? What is it? Is it sambandha? What's the relationships? What's going on? Who's God? Who am I? What is the practice? Abhideya, that's bhakti. And the goal is pure love for Krishna. Prema pum arto mahan. The great goal of every living entity, human being especially, is prema, pure love for God. All right, I'm sorry we went over time. But you had some questions, so I have to... Well, that's kind of a New Agey kind of way of saying what they say. They say that Brahman, a piece of it gets covered by Maya, and that's why we have all of this variety. Human beings, you know, or Krishna even, you know. We believe in Krishna, but he's derived from Brahman. The original absolute truth is Brahman. The absolute no varieties, no nothing, just white light. And then when Maya covers a piece of that, breaks off, or no, when it appears in a form, you know, which is all Maya, then that's Krishna. In other words, Krishna is just a derivative. He's not the absolute. But Krishna says right in the Gita, Brahmano hi pratistham, I am the basis of Brahman. And there's so many other quotes, you know, that disprove that. So the Mayavadis, they never can really remain detached. And that's why you find they open hospitals and they do all this welfare work and everything, you see. Because they're not really, experiencing bhakti rasa, the nectar. You know, and they're too offensive. They're offenders of the devotees. So immediately they're cut off from all of that. So it was a big battle. I mean, Madhvacharya, Ramanujacharya, Lord Chaitanya, it took hundreds of years to beat this back. Now there's a whole story we don't have time to get into why Shiva came as Shankaracharya. Lord Krishna ordered Shiva to come as Shankaracharya to preach Mayavad philosophy to combat the Buddhism. Because Buddhism rejected the Vedas, you know, to save the cows, ahimsa, you know. Because the cows are being slaughtered on the basis, so-called, of the Vedas. There's some Gometa, you know, it's a whole thing, but not in mass, you know, slaughterhouses. So that was going on in India. That had to be stopped. So Buddhism was put up, but then that had to be defeated to bring back the authority of the Vedas, and that was Madhvacharya, Ramanujacharya, Lord Chaitanya, and others who were, you know, going on. But to this day, there's still Mayavad influence, and so we have to be well versed. Okay, we have to end. I'm sorry, I went over. I love these. Every time I give class, and these instructions, it's going to be all glory to Srila Prabhupada.